Well, hey, gang, Jim Jacobus. Welcome to this week's In the Sales Arena training webinar. Really excited to share some stuff with you today. I've been doing some sales training for Mercedes-Benz here lately, and this is one of the subject matters that they have really enjoyed working on, and so I felt like it would be a great subject for us to tackle today. It is kind of coming out of our base material that we use, and as soon as we kind of wrap this foundation stuff up, we're going to move on to the next level there. Glad to have you guys on board. Let me kind of push forward here, get a little feedback from you guys that it would be nice if we got into the material a little bit faster. So we're going to do that. And here's a little welcome for you. Beautiful day here in Houston. I don't know where everybody's listening to today from, but it's been a little cold and rainy here. I was talking with a client on Monday that was in Chicago about how cold it was in Houston, and she just said, "Shut up." They were getting more snow up there, and it was really cold. So beautiful day here. Welcome. Let me tell you a little bit about our agenda for today. First thing is we're going to talk about the 4 primary disciplines of sales success. I want to lay that down for you one more time, and we'll do that a lot. I want to kind of embed that in our minds so that we know where we're pulling a lot of this material from. Then we're also going to talk about what we call the success equation. We're going to talk about the research that led to the 5 things that top sales pros all have in common. And then I'm going to share with you those 5 things for our time together today. Now, again, I want you to keep in mind while I'm going to be sharing information here, I want you to feel free to ask questions, to ask for clarification. You have on your dashboard there a place to type in questions. Please do that for me. And we're going to try to take advantage of that as much as you want to. I know that in listening to some webinars here recently, I just kind of listened to the webinar and I'm multitasking, and that's certainly perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned. But if you do have a question or you do want to ask for clarification, feel free to do that. I want you to be able to, and we'll answer those as quickly as we possibly can. So the 4 disciplines that we pull from anytime a client engages us and says, "Hey, we want you to do some sales training for us," and we're talking with them about what they want and eventually getting down to what they really need. When we design the program, it's going to come out of these 4 buckets. We're convinced that sales training and sales success does come from these 4 primary disciplines. The first one is executing a consistent sales process. And we did one of our webinars here just a few weeks back in January on the sales process. Now, please understand, I am not a process guy. I am a people guy. That is my primary strength when it comes to sales success. That said, without a consistent process that I can repeat over and over and over again, I'm never going to be able to leverage my people skills as strongly as I possibly could. So we teach the sales process: planning, prospecting, first impressions, qualifying, demonstrating, influencing, closing, and follow-up. Every one of those steps is critical to sales success. And if we don't master them, we're going to wind up not being as successful as we possibly can. When I was talking with the guys yesterday, guys and gals at Mercedes-Benz, one of the things that really spurred a great conversation was the whole idea that Mercedes-Benz has a sales plan for you this year. They want you to reach a certain quota. And with the VP of sales for a couple of dealerships in the room and a few other folks, I basically said, "Look, I don't care what the company's plan is. All right, I could care less. What I want to know is what's your plan. All right, I want you to have a plan for the life that you want, for the home you want to live in, the career that you'd like to lead, the car you want to drive. Where do you want your kids to go to school? What's the lifestyle you want? I want you to have your plan." Because if you have a plan to deliver the lifestyle that you're looking for, you will consequently be much more effective in executing that plan than if you're executing the company's plan. And oh, by the way, the byproduct will be, I guarantee the company's plan will get executed at the same time to their satisfaction. So the sales process is an important piece to our sales success. Then we talk about value-based selling. How do we know the value of the company that we work for? Even if it's our own company, we're a solopreneur or entrepreneur. What's the value of the product and service that we sell? And what's the value that we personally bring to the table? And quite frankly, I find in the workshops that we do, the area that people tend to struggle with the most is understanding the value they bring to the table. and really leveraging that value in the sales process. So value-based selling is one of our primary disciplines, and then building high ROI relationships, being intentional about elevating ourselves in the mind of our customer to the place where we're considered a partner and or advisor, that we are not a vendor or a supplier, but we're a partner and an advisor, and consequently we get a higher return on investment for our time. It's more fun. The margins are higher. Everything's better when we leverage that high level relationship. And then today we're going to zero in on our A players only sort of proprietary work that we do with our clients. And I'm going to give you some more detail about that as we move on. So those are the 4 disciplines: sales process, value-based selling, building high ROI relationships, and A players only. One of the folks in our workshop yesterday, as we were kind of laying this out, raised his hand. I said, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, when I look at what you talk about having to do to be the best of the best in sales, I wonder how I ever get to be average. Well, first thing is, a lot of us, myself included, early on in my sales career, I was probably not just average, but a good sales rep. But I was not that level that we are talking about where I'm a conscious, competent, I'm good at what I do, and I know why I'm good at it. And that's really the goal. The goal is not to be good at sales. I love Collins's statement in his book, Good to Great. If better is possible, then good is not enough. My own personal mantra is always happy, never satisfied. I always want to be better at what I do. And for me, it's not the money as much as it is just the pursuit of being extraordinary at something, to be able to know that I'm as good as I possibly can be, but yet I'm still trying to get better. So yeah, it can seem quite daunting when you start looking at all these pieces together, and quite frankly, we can do a pretty good job without managing all of them at the highest level. But if we truly want to be the best of the best, we want our business to grow, we want an extraordinary career, we want the lifestyle that we were talking about a while ago, then it's going to require us to master all of these. And like I said, I think each one of them has their place from the standpoint of what we teach our clients. So those are the 4 disciplines that we're working from. Now, we love this success equation. I used it yesterday in training. I use it all the time, what we call the be, do, have equation. In other words, we have to be the right person at a core level. We have to do the right things at an external level in order to have the success that we want. Now, so far, when we talk about the sales process, value-based selling, and building high-level relationships, we are talking about the do part of that equation. Today, we're going to talk about who we need to be at a core level in order to be successful in sales, in career, and not just that, but in life in general. So I've got a quick little poll for you I'm going to launch here. It shouldn't take very long. I'm going to give you just a few seconds to answer it. And the question is very simple. I ask this in a lot of our workshops, if you will. Which one do you think is more important for success in sales? Who we are at a core level, or what we do at an external level? Okay? Just kind of want to get your feedback real quick. Which one of these do you think is the most important for success in sales? Who we are at a core level, or what we do at an external level? Okay, I'm going to give you a few more seconds here. Not going to waste a lot of time. All right, everybody's kind of piling in on one primary area. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to close the poll. And we've got a couple of folks that say what we do. And the first thing I'll tell you, I don't think that it's not important. I think it's very important. But my experience tells me who we are at a core level is more important. And I think before we get through today, we'll be able to illustrate that for everybody. Okay, good deal. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about how we got to these top 5 core skills. We do a lot of benchmarking of top performers. We've done over 300 performance benchmarks, particularly with sales orientation, if you will. And that benchmarking was kind of where we pulled this key information from. Each one of those benchmarks had somewhere between 3 to 8 top performers involved from that organization. We had subject matter experts on that position. Some of those would include top clients, could include other people that were very well aware, trainers and consultants of what it took to be extraordinary in that sales position. And then we'd have key stakeholders like owners and VPs of sales, sales managers, providing us input. By the way, quick little note here. If you had a sales manager that was responsible for 100 sales reps, and I ask them, how many of your sales reps are truly extraordinary, absolutely phenomenal at what they do? The answer is between 3 to 5. About 3 to 5% of the sales reps would be considered absolutely extraordinary by their sales managers. Now, another 15 or 20% would be considered very good, but only 3 to 5% are considered extraordinary, and that's really what we're looking for when we're doing our benchmarks, if you will. Next thing we do is we ask that sales rep, if the position could talk, what would it tell us about how the job could be done at the highest level? Don't tell us how you do the job. Tell you how you wished you did it. In other words, we're asking the best of the best to tell us how they could be even better at it. Consequently, we end up with a benchmark that provides gaps for growth when we do a gap analysis, if you will, where even the best sales reps have the opportunity to get better. And I will tell you this from my experience is that you give that to the best of the best, they close that gap very quickly. When you provide them with information about what it takes to be even better, they're the very first to grab a hold of those ideas and improve. And then the last thing, we gather all that data from them, we crunch it, and we end up with some information that I think is very interesting. And obviously, a lot of our clients do that use our tools to do selection, development, and retention with. And I'm going to share with you that data here today. All right. Any questions out there about how we go about collecting the data, who we involved in it, and how we went about it and everything before I show you what we're working, what we came out of it with? Anybody have any questions or anything? Okay. All right. When we measure the best of the best, we're gathering data in 3 primary categories: behaviors, workplace motivators, and what we're calling core skills and core competencies. Now, if you've ever had a behavioral assessment, a Myers-Briggs, Caliper, Berkman, DISC, PI, any of those behavioral assessments, you know that there's a lot of great information in there. All right. We call that above the waterline. It's what we observe in other people. Reality is we make a lot of value judgments about people's ability to perform a certain job based upon those behaviors, but they do not, cannot, have not, and will not ever predict performance. All right. Now, I get in trouble with some of my clients from time to time that are using a Berkman or a PI to do selection with, and reality is behaviors, they just don't. And the reason why is I don't care what profile you give me. You tell me you want a high D, high I sales rep. Well, if you really understand what a high D means, there are certain strengths that indeed do come with a high D. Risk-taking, a lot of drive, a lot of force, a lot of focus and everything. But with those positives come negatives as well. The person that's a very high D that's got a lot of drive very often can run over other people, not good at creating consensus, not good at working with 3 or 4 different people in an organization to pull consensus out of them and everything. So the behaviors don't predict performance, and I'm always glad to illustrate why that's the case when my clients ask me to. Now, they're a great tool when it comes to understanding communication skills, motivation, stuff like that. They're a very, very good tool there. Matter of fact, we teach, for those of you who are my Halliburton clients on this webinar, you know we teach behavioral selling worldwide to our Halliburton client. And basically what we teach them is how to identify the personality style of the customer that they're working with and change the presentation to meet that style. So it's a very valuable tool when it comes to being successful in sales, but it does not predict performance, okay? Now, the second piece we're measuring is what we call workplace motivators. We measure 6 of those. I will put those 6 in the show notes if you're curious about them. But just kind of coming off my experience with them, we measure social, which is a desire to help other people; traditional, which is a need for rules and structure; aesthetics, which is a need for form and harmony in the environment; theoretical, the need for knowledge and information; individualistic, which is a need for power and control; and utilitarian, which is the need for money and things. All right. So we're measuring 6 primary motivators, if you will. And I will tell you this, when you crunch the numbers from the best of the best, 90% of the top sales reps in all of our studies had the same 2 motivators. All right. They're either 1, 2, or 2, 1 in one order or the other. Those are money and power and control. Those are the motivators for the top 90%, if you will. Now, can you select to that? Yeah, to some extent. I don't think it's a bad tool to select with, but there are plenty of sales reps out there that are very good at what they do, that have a high social motivator and everything. What we really teach in our management courses is to teach the manager to figure out what the motivator is for the sales rep and help them get more of it. What managers typically do, and I've been guilty of that in the past as well, is managers will motivate the sales reps with what they think is cool. In other words, if the manager's motivated by money, then they motivate the sales rep with money. Well, sales rep may be motivated by something else. If I find out what the sales rep is motivated by and help them get more of it, they'll run through a brick wall for me. So we are measuring those 6 workplace motivators, and to some extent, they can be very helpful in selection, but even more helpful in giving managers insights into how to get the most out of their sales reps, their sales associates, if you will. And then the last piece is what we call the core skills and core competencies that we're going to zero in on today. And I tell our clients all the time, get these things right, and you can forget everything else I'm teaching you. All right. If we just get these things right, then you can forget everything else that we teach in our workshops. So here are the 23 core skills that we measure. All right. We call the motivators or how, the behaviors are how, motivators are why, and these core skills are can somebody do the job? And I do believe that they are definitive predictors of performance. We've seen too many cases where clients use the tool and it has become a great tool to allow them to stop hiring the wrong talent to begin with, to begin the process with the right DNA right from the beginning. So those are the 23 things that we measure. Let me see if I can get from you guys real quick. What do you think out of these 23, what would you say is the number one most important core skill for sales success? All right, do me a favor, top that into the question deal there. For those of you who are multitasking, take a second out real quick, come back to your screen, and just type into your little question box down there, which do you think is the number one core skill for sales success? All right. Okay, getting a wide variety of answers already. Let's see here, self-management, customer focus, planning and organizing, self-starting, goal orientation. All right, good. Customer focus again. All right, goal achievement, continuous learning. All right, good deal. Again, pretty typical of the kind of responses that we get. Great, thanks for your feedback there, guys. I really appreciate that. So we do this in workshops, and that's the exact same thing that we experience in the workshop, is that we have answers that all across the board. Now, my first question in a workshop is, okay, if that's the case, what did we just learn? Well, we learned that we've all got a different idea of what it takes to be the best of the best. If we're all doing selection, let's say everybody on this call is a sales manager and you're doing selection, you're choosing sales reps and hiring them and everything, we're going to get a pretty broad range of ideas of what it takes to be the best of the best. And we're going to wind up with a pretty broad range of performance levels because we're selecting with different criteria in mind. Once we benchmark the top performers, then we end up with 7 of these that our clients can use as a selection tool. All right. And of those 7, we always kind of define them by must-haves and like-to-haves. Must-haves are things that people inherently bring with them to the job to begin with. And like-to-haves are things that we want them to have, but if they don't, we can teach. So when I show you the big 5 here in just a minute, we're going to talk about the difference between the must-haves and the like-to-haves. So there's your 23 core skills right there. And again, you gave me what you thought were your number ones, but here are the top 5. And let me tell you why we call them the big 5, if you will, the top 5. If you look at all the numbers that we've ever done, you crunch all of them, okay? You end up with 5 of them on top, and then there's a statistical gap that is significant enough between those 5 and the other 18 to tell me that those 5 are more important than the other 18 are. All right, you with me so far? You wind up with a statistical picture that shows you there's a gap between number 5 and number 6. And that gap's big enough to say, I think these 5 are most important. And I believe, again, we'll illustrate that as we go through this list here. So, number 1 core skill for outstanding sales performance is resiliency. It's the ability to bounce back from adversity. Sales is a business with a lot more no's in it than it is yeses. There's a lot more rejection than there are wins for us. And top sales performers have the attitude that basically when something goes wrong, it's just some will, some won't, so what, who's next? All right, we actually have a button that we give out in our sales training that says SW, 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 who's next? And the top sales reps, when something goes wrong, they're simply back at it. I mean, please understand, it's not that they don't care about what happens that goes wrong. It's just that they're so busy with other things, they're just back in the game a lot faster. Average and below average sales reps, when something goes wrong, I always characterize them as they spend half a day in a deli somewhere trying to figure out if they're going to go back to work or not. All right, that may be an actual deli, and I've done that in the past, or it may just be the deli in their mind, if you will, where they disengage and they're frustrated and they're upset. Working with a client here recently where they changed the comp plan on the group at the end of the year last year. And again, nobody should be happy with that. There was good justification for it, and quite frankly, everybody, made pretty good money. But at the end of the day, they weren't happy. And one guy was expressing his displeasure with it all, and he had stayed kind of disengaged for about a month when they changed the plan at the end of last year. And I know him to be one of their best sales reps, and my feedback was, every day that you wait to get back in the game is another game that's going to take a little bit longer for you to get back to where you were, all right? So resiliency is the number one core skill for outstanding sales performance, and it's one of the 5 things that we're going to list here that is really tough to teach. Now, you can learn resiliency by ingesting, if you will, taking in a lot of positive information, a lot of stuff that helps us frame life properly. The reason people have low levels of resiliency is that when something goes wrong, they blow it out of proportion. In other words, something on a scale of 1 to 10 that should be a 5 becomes a 10. And they're not able to get back in the game as fast because they don't keep things in perspective. We talk about attitude and hanging out with positive people. There's a lot of things you can do. But a low level of resiliency comes from a long history of being told that you're not capable, you're not able, you're not worthy, and consequently when something goes bad, then it means you're bad. So resiliency is one of the ones that's really tough to teach. I tell managers all the time, if you hire people with low levels of resiliency, you're committing management malpractice. They will struggle to be average, okay? So resiliency is number 1. Number 2, personal accountability. It's defined as I do what I say I'm going to do because I said I would. It's the men and women out there that don't know any other way to do things other than the right way. Their word is golden. To the extent that they're capable of doing what they told you they were going to do, they do it. If they can't do what they told you they're going to do, you'll be the first to hear it. You'll hear it from them. Those folks are people that we all have known, and certainly I think somebody we all want to be. And they're constantly taking responsibility. Now, here's the plus to that. If you make a mistake, and as Dr. Phil talks about, you own it, you acknowledge it, then you can do something about it, all right? But if you make a mistake or there's something in your personality or in your skill set that is a minus, if you will, it's not as strong as it could be, and you blame it on somebody else, or you don't want to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm really not very good at that, I've got to get better. You're in denial about it, well, then we have a hard time growing. We have a hard time getting better. So people that are personally accountable had the humility necessary to learn and to grow and to improve. And it's certainly one of the things when I look at clients that I coach, that I work with, I'm always first, right off the bat, trying to assess what's their level of personal accountability, because if they're highly accountable to themselves, they're highly aware of what they need to get better at and everything, then my job as a coach is much, much easier. If they struggle with personal accountability, then I've got to establish that accountability before we can ever go anywhere. So resiliency is number 1 and personal accountability is number 2. Number 3 on the list is self-management. We've talked about this quite a bit in some of our previous webinars. Self-management, we really define as you look at your sales business, as an entrepreneur would, and you make decisions like a business owner makes, not like an employee. Again, you give me 100 sales reps and 70% of them act like employees. They draw lines in the sand. I'll do what it takes, but I won't do that. They see the company as an adversary. Self-managers see the company as a partner, somebody that they're working with. The company supplies a lot of foundational stuff in products and services and everything. But as a sales rep, I'm running a business, and my business is run on an inventory that is my time. Self-managers see their time as their inventory, and they manage that time the way a small business owner or a large business owner would manage a business. And so they're constantly looking at, how am I getting the best return on investment for my time? And how do I become a better partner to my company? And how does my company become a better partner to me? Again, with the case of the particular change in the comp plan, what I told the guy was, I'd look at the comp plan and I'd figure out how to beat the crud out of it. Okay. Instead of worrying about the fact they changed it. And again, I understand. I don't blame anybody for not for being unhappy with getting their pay plan cut. I get that. I wouldn't have been happy either. But the faster I get back in the game and the sooner I start looking at the comp plan and try to figure out how to make the most out of it, the better. Now, for those of you out there who are my speaker buddies and small business owners, it's not any different than that. It's looking at our speaking business, at our coaching business, at our training business, and go, what are we really good at? How do I get the most out of my time and manage my inventory? And how do I grow that business by finding clients that value what I do? I think we're going to do one of our webinars in March on ideal clients. What does our ideal client avatar look like? And then how do we target that ideal client and that ideal client avatar? And how do we stop doing business with people that we don't get a good return on investment from? It's one of the things I love teaching in workshops, and we've certainly done it in our business through the years. There are people that I love to do business with. I love working for the PGA of America, but I limit myself to doing only 3 of those a year because they don't pay the amount of money that I can command nowadays, and I'm blessed to say that. I still like their business. It's still a lot of fun, but that day is an inventory day, and the travel day is an inventory day. And if I travel to fill in the blank, even though it's a great place to go to, and I'm only getting a third or a fourth of what I would normally get for that day, then I'm not wasting my inventory, but I'm not getting everything out of it that I can. And so there are certain clients that I still love and I still think the world of, but I can't do as much business with them anymore because I want to manage my inventory more effectively. So self-management is one of those tools that the best of the best in the world are not only good at, but they're constantly evaluating and developing. All right, number 4, probably preaching to the choir here because you are on this webinar and you are somebody that is following what we do, and that's continuous learning. The best of the best never stop getting better at what they do. Again, nowadays, it's not just books, all right? It's even books, not even reading books. I use Audible myself. But it's podcasts and blogs and webinars. And I mean, there's so many different learning tools out there today and so much great content that it's easy for a continuous learner to develop what they're doing. And I applaud you guys for being on here. And we consistently have a good group of around 25 to 30 sharing time with us. We've seen that group grow every time that we're doing these, and I'm really appreciative of that. We are banking our entire business future when it comes to the salesgladiator.com stuff on the fact that there are salespeople out there who are motivated to learn and want to grow. So all I'm telling you is keep doing it. All right. Find people that speak the language that you want to hear, that are teaching you what you want to teach, and grow from that. So continuous learning is number 4. Number 5 is interpersonal skills. The ability to effectively connect with, communicate with, understand other human beings. Now, believe it or not, there are a good percentage of salespeople whose interpersonal skills I would rate it average or below average. All right. They just don't communicate well. They don't connect well. They lack empathy for the customer. They see this as a competition where one person wins and another person loses between themselves and the customer and themselves and the company. They just lack what I would call great interpersonal skills. But if you ever meet somebody who is extraordinary at sales, and I've been blessed to meet a lot of them, they have a level of interpersonal skills that make them better than everybody else. And can you develop that? The answer is yes, absolutely you can. That's what we teach our Halliburton clients, is how to identify personality styles. What is your style? What are the strengths? What are the challenges? How do you identify the style of your client? How do you connect with that style intentionally? And again, not manipulatively, but with a sincere desire to effectively communicate, connect with other people. So interpersonal skills is something that the top salespeople have. And again, it's something we can develop. We can get better at. Somebody asked me the other day, well, how do I get to where I can connect with more people? And I go, well, what do you like to do? He goes, well, I like to do this. And he was one of those kind of people that was kind of siloed in his life into he only did one thing. Well, consequently, he didn't have the ability to communicate and connect with people on a variety of different levels. One of the things we teach all the time is if you want to be interesting, be interested in other people and learn about them. I love just sitting with sales reps and finding out who they are. What do they do in their off time? Tell me about your family. Tell me about your kids. Tell me about how'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? What'd you study? Why'd you study it? It's a natural curiosity in other people that will help us develop interpersonal skills within ourselves. All right, so there's the big five. Now, my question in workshops always, if we mastered all five of these, how good would we be? And the answer I get back is always extraordinary. We'd be outstanding at what we do. And that I believe to be a fact. And like I said, quite frankly, if we master these five, we can forget the other things that we teach. Quite frankly, we'll be outstanding at what we do. So those are the big five. Now, the two that are tough to teach, resiliency, personal accountability. Personal accountability is tough to teach because it comes from a background of being told that you're not responsible, that it wasn't your fault. You grow up with somebody that has low levels of personal accountability, and you see them constantly avoiding accountability for their mistakes, and you'll wind up being somebody that does the same. And typically by the time you get into my class, you're 25, 35, 45, 55, whatever your age is, you got a deep history of that. And it's kind of difficult to change. I tell clients all the time, can I take them from a 4 to a 10? Probably not. And I don't want to say never because it certainly could happen, but I have never seen it yet. If I take them from a 4 to a 6 or 7 or an 8, can they perform better? The answer is yes. And so we do talk about personal accountability. We talk about resiliency and how important it is, and we share some things they can do. The other stuff we teach, and we teach self-management, we teach continuous learning, we teach interpersonal skills. So those are the big five. All right, quick little question here. I'm going to do a poll for you. Which one do you think is the one that you could get better at? Which is the one you feel like you need to work on? I'm going to launch that poll. Just give you about 30 seconds to answer. Get more feedback from you guys. Don't let the polls go too long because I answer really quick and everybody else is sleeping. So of those five, resiliency, personal accountability, self-management, continuous learning, and interpersonal skills, which one do you feel like you need to get better at? Okay. All right. Got a lot of people piling on. Well, actually, now it's starting to divide out pretty good. Okay. Got a question here as well. Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. Well, cool. Let's see here. 0 for personal accountability and 0 for continuous learning. That makes sense. If you're personally accountable, then you're taking advantage of learning opportunities and trying to get better. That would make sense. In continuous learning, you're on the call. But we're equally divided, a third and a third and a third between resiliency, self-management, and interpersonal skills. I will take that into consideration as we look at some of the programs we're going to be doing in the future. And we'll do some specifics on those. I may do some podcasts on those as well. All right. Any questions that you guys have? All right. We've been told try to keep these to about 30 minutes. We're working on that. It's good feedback. I like it as well. We can bounce through these a lot quicker. We're at 35 minutes. Any questions about what we talked about today? Any clarification you need? Any comments? Okay. Give you a few seconds to type those in. Okay. That's a good question. Somebody asked here, we've got a lot of people in the Houston area. Are we going to do any public workshops anytime soon? We are actually toying with that right now. We're working with a couple of sponsors who want to sponsor us to do that, but yet keep it open to a broad range of people. So we are working on that. I will tell you what we are working really hard on right now and that's rolling some of our stuff out in a modular form using a platform called Digital Chalk, where you can literally go in and take a sales course that might span 14, 20 lessons, if you will, on some of this stuff that we talk about. And we're getting ready to roll some of that out for you. We're going to do some niche courses first on things like how do you handle objections, how do you get appointments and things like that. So you'll see those coming out here pretty quick. But yeah, we're working on doing some local live sales trainings, if you will. Most everything we do right now, all that we do is for clients who bring us in to work with their sales team. So let's see here. Any other questions? Doesn't look like it. All right, gang. No questions. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time today. Like I said, our hope for you guys is always, if you're at the brand new, we want to help you build a foundation to have a great career and great life. If you're that person that's stuck in the middle and trying to get out of there and trying to get to the top, we want to help you get there. And then obviously, if you're at the top, we don't want to just help you stay at the top. We want to help you to blow away the numbers, to do the kind of same things in your sales career nobody's ever done before. So that's our hope for you. We appreciate you very much. If you have any questions, go to thesalesgladiators.com/QIF. Any questions, any insights, any feedback, let us know what we can do. What kind of programming would you like to see? What would be valuable to you? What questions do you have? And we'll try to turn those into some of our podcasts and some of our webinars and some of our Q&As down the road. All right, gang, hope you have a great week this week. Go out there and sell something. Do something significant to help you build that sales career and life that you want. Thanks for joining us today. Take care, gang.